and good morning. I'm Katie McManus, business strategist and money mindset coach. And I am here today with one of my favorite all-time people in the world, a dear partner in my business, Kristina Deckard, who is, we're just talking about how to introduce you because you do so many different things. You're an intuitive and alignment business strategist. And you do so much more for me, but we'll get to that. Hello. So I am super excited about our topic today because this has been my journey for myself in my business and in my life is to really get more in tune with my intuition. And you've been a massive help with me learning to do this better. But I just want to start off like what's the magic in having your intuition be a part of your business strategy team?
Well, I think that it's because it brings you more into your strategy. A lot of times when we're working on our business strategy, we're going to so many different people and looking for the help that we need and to fulfill those things where we're not in our zone of genius.
Yeah.
And when we bring in our intuition, we realize how much we do really know and how important it is to be using that while we're meeting with other people and learning about all the things that we need to do in our business and making those big business decisions.
Yeah. Well, and I also think that we actually know a lot more than we give ourselves credit for.
We do.
I know that it's almost like when you really want to do something and you go to your best friend and you ask them what should I do? But the way you describe it, like the thing that you want to do, you frame it up as if it is the massively better answer.
Of course.
You just want someone to give you permission to do it.
Yes. Yes. And that can happen with your intuition too. And I think that's a lot of times why people question it so much. Is this just me or is this really my intuition? So I think that's, the whole thing with practicing and having someone to having a intuitive strategist, then you have someone to bounce that off of and check yourself.
Right.
Make sure.
Right. No, 100%. And every time we get on a call, I have questions for you, but often it's here's what my intuition is telling me about my business. Can we gut check this together?
Yes.
Right. Is this coming from a place of intuition or is it coming from a place of fear? Because I think this is the big thing that I see with my clients is that oftentimes they have this voice of fear that's impersonating intuition. And it's what it's doing is it's trying to keep their business super small.
Yeah. Yes. And I think that there's those beliefs behind that. I was just thinking about how I did a coaching day where I met back to back for 30 minutes with clients. And we did it audio. So it was only being able to listen. And it made such a huge difference and really zoning in on what it was that was holding them back. And every single one of them, it boiled down to a belief that they couldn't really do what they wanted to do to make money. Every single one of them.
Yeah.
And that is such a huge thing with our intuition. Our intuition can't come through when we have this belief that we can't do what we really want to do.
Yeah.
Intuition, it gets blocked by fear, just like, everything does. So,
yeah, no, it's so funny you say that. I'm not a very controversial person, right? My posts aren't very controversial. It doesn't really start fights. But the one post that did have someone up in arms against me was a post that I did that was basically a blanket statement of everyone deserves to do work that they love and make really good money from it. And this one guy, he did not like that. He started yelling at me in the comments. He was DMing me. There was a lot of just anger and frustration at me. And I know it wasn't at me. It was at this belief system.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Someone telling him that he deserves that. And yet his whole world has told him that he doesn't deserve it, that he has to just suck it up and do a job that he hates and pay the bills and do all this stuff. It's like the conflicting information there was just too much for him.
Yeah. I mean, is it, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's so interesting. And I have this too. I have this belief that, like, you know, there's a limit to how successful I get to be in my business.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I haven't met anyone that doesn't have that.
Mhm.
I have it too, even
Mhm.
though this is what I do, you know, to help people to
Right.
work in obviously we all do what we also have needed to do for ourselves or are
Right.
still doing for ourselves. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, it, like, you know, I always go back to this idea of, like, you know, a weight loss coach. Like, no one's going to trust a weight loss coach who's always been 110 pounds. Right.
Yes.
You're probably going to trust the weight loss coach who's still like 180 pounds, a little overweight, but has brought herself down from like a much higher number and has figured out how to like maintain consistently,
Yes.
you know, because she understands the challenges, the plateaus, you know, all that stuff. It's the same for
Mhm.
the personal journey that everyone goes on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we have that in our businesses as well. And I think that's one of the reasons why I really just came to this, where I was like, we need to be able to tap into our own inner knowing in order to get where we want, because we do have those highs and lows in business. And we can be working with the greatest coach and we're still going to have those highs and lows. We just go through that. We're human beings.
Yep.
And I think that having, you know, the different types of support in place to help you through those times is really important. And getting to the point where, you know, you have this inner knowing, this is going to pass. I know what I'm doing. It's okay. And I think that really building your intuition helps you with that.
Yeah. No, 100%. And it's so funny you say that. Like, so often, I was guilty of this also when I started my business, but so often with my clients, they're like, okay, well, I don't believe in myself, but I'm going to get a few clients and then I'll believe in myself. And then I'll go and do all this stuff. And it's like, no, like, believe, like, if you don't believe in yourself now, like, the clients are never coming.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, trick yourself, whatever you have to do to trick yourself into believing in yourself right now, even for just 30 minutes a day. That's going to make
Yes.
a massive difference in you actually getting clients. And then you're going to start seeing evidence that you can do this in the world.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And um, I don't know, maybe I say this too much, but in part of like law of attraction and manifesting and that sort of thing, Mike Dooley is one of my mentors, and he talks about how visualizing for 4 minutes a day actually changes your life. 4
Yep.
minutes to visualize what you feel like after you've already accomplished it, after you've already gotten the client. What does that feel like?
Yeah.
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 And it really works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, it just raises your vibration. I mean, that whole belief around manifestation, law of attraction is like, you don't attract what you want, you attract what you already are.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
I think people get fucked up around it because they think, oh, well, I have to always be in the mindset that this is what I'm attracting. No, like, you're a human. Your brain is going to go in all different directions.
Yes.
These fear voices are going to come up. Your intuition is going to get fogged out. It happens, but those 4 minutes can be so powerful.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I know I teased this in the promo or the description of this live. How did you get to the point where you got to trust your intuition and to do what you do?
Well, I think, yeah, it was quite a journey for me. How did I get to the point of trusting it would be, I think the most important thing for me was actually like practicing it, taking action on it,
Yeah.
because that's the only way to really know, is this really intuition? Is this really my guide speaking to me? Am I really contacting someone on the other side?
Yeah.
Is to either deliver that message to someone else that it belongs to and have them confirm that, or that I took action on something that I got a hit on, and then it just like hit so hard that I was like, there is no way that this is not really true and really happening.
Yeah.
Like it gives me the goosebumps just thinking about things
Mm.
that happened. And then from there, I was just like, well, I just have to believe it.
Yep.
Everything that comes to me, and to the point where I can do this with a client, sit on the call with them for an hour and talk to them about these things that I'm getting and not feel like I'm, just total whack job. 'Cause I just had to believe it was true.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. No, I love that. It's, yeah, it goes back to that thing about like, you have to just kind of believe in it first.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You
Right.
do.
And the worst thing that happens is that you're wrong.
Yeah.
Great.
And
All
we
data.
get things wrong all the time.
Right.
I mean, you know,
Hmm.
but that's the only way we find out.
Right.
I'll tell this this little story. I had this um, feeling that I needed to find a course to take,
Hmm.
and I wanted something local to go to. And so I did a search, and a medical intuition course came up. And when I read through it, it was like I had electricity. I've never felt that again,
Hmm.
like, and so intense. It was like electricity was shooting out of my body. Not
Hmm.
that I was then dead on the floor, but it was like this really intense,
Yeah. Like
you
this
know,
charge.
yeah, really intense charge. And I was like, okay, like I got to sign up.
Hmm.
It was in that course that I really learned about like the spirit guide, connecting in with spirit guides and that sort of thing. But I had to practice looking inside someone's body and seeing what it was. She started with, I want you to look. I'd never met the person beside me before. Look inside their arm and tell her everything that you see. I've
Hmm.
never done anything like that
Right.
before. I was scared to death.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh. So I did it. And to my surprise, I saw in my mind, with my eyes closed, I saw her arm. It looked like a cartoon arm. And then I started telling her things that I saw and
Hmm.
down into her hand. And I got it right. She had broken a finger and she had done all these different things that happened to be with her arm and hand. And I told her those things thinking I was just totally wrong and making things up.
Yeah.
But that's what intuition feels like.
Right. Right.
And when that happened, I was like, oh, wow, I can do this. So it's kind of like putting yourself out there, giving it a try, and then just going for it.
Hmm.
Totally just dive in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, 100%. You're describing that. And I'm thinking back to when I went through coach training. There's a whole portion in the Coactive Training Institute's like curriculum about offering an intuition, right? Because I
Mhm.
think as humans, like we're trained to only offer stuff that we can quantify out there in the world as proof, or it's absolutely true, and here's the data and all the stuff.
Yeah.
And it was the first time I was really given permission to say, hey, listen, my intuition's telling me this. Just want to offer that to you. And
Mm.
allowing the person to like try it on and be like, oh my God, yes, or no, not quite that, but this is true.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
it's, that permission to offer something without the attachment of being right,
I
I
love
think is so powerful. And it's so funny, like as I started doing that more and more in my business, there were more and more times where my clients were like, how did you know that? Like, how did you know that? And I legitimately don't know how I know things sometimes.
Yeah.
It's just like, it comes to me, my intuition kind of bubbles up and is like, you need to say this right now.
Mhm.
I used to like secretly like pull tarot cards for my clients, and like sometimes I tell them and sometimes I wouldn't, but like, oh my God, like in the moment, I just feel like I need this card, and I do it so much more now. And the more I do it, the more I like am open about it, and I'll do lives on it,
I love it. Yes. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's funny. I think a lot of us, start out with like kind of secretive about it, of course, because
Right, right.
of
It can
history.
clear.
But yeah, I did the same thing with like numerology. For years before I even realized that I was like really, really psychic and a medium, I was doing numerology on like everybody I knew. Like I would just sit, it was like so witchy.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny. So I've started playing with sigils.
Yes.
And if you're watching and you don't know what sigils are, basically you take like what you want to happen, so like I want to attract like 25 clients for my group program. And you basically break it down into like the base letters, and then you can turn those letters into different symbols. Or you basically make like an artistic representation of it, like a sigil or like a little, what's the term? Just a symbol, I guess. And it's so funny because I was actually talking to my therapist about it, and she was like, "What's this book?" Because from a psychological standpoint, when we're setting goals for ourselves, it's very left brain, right? We're thinking of like the actual measured, results that we want to get. Right. And our right brain is kind of like the side of our brain that like allows for us to believe in stuff. It's the creative side. It's like the side that will start scanning the world for all the weird ways it could come to pass. Right. And bringing those two sides together with like a very literal goal and like an artistic representation of that goal actually helps your brain believe that it's possible more. It's like, what's that audio on Instagram right now? It's like, do you believe that witchcraft is just spicy psychology? So funny. What are like the most wild moments where like intuition has like led you right, or that you've gotten a hit and like not listened to it and like regretted it massively?
Oh, wow. Well, I guess I'll do a business one, because one that came to mind. It was not business, but I'll say that this is a simple one, but so I got a hit to make a video, and I kind of like, I had worked on it and then it just sat in my drafts or whatever. And then so a reel, and then I finally put it out, and I put it out, and then I went to sleep. And that night I saw that my phone was lighting up, and it just so happened that's how you found me.
Right. Yep.
And I was getting, I was getting other messages and things. So I think on that, it was just such a subtle thing, but it was something like I knew I needed to put this particular one out. I just kept getting like, get the video done, send it out. And then I did it and just didn't think anything else about it.
Right.
And that was just like a small one, but it turned into something really big and really great,
Right.
So it turned into a lot of connections for me, new clients. And that was one video,
right,
that it was happened to be about my spirit guides, but that they were telling me, do this.
Right. Right. It's so funny because I was actually thinking about that as I was like planning this live, because you and I have been working together for a while, like since the pandemic, really.
Yes.
And full transparency. So I think it was like the weekend. It was the pandemic. Nothing was going on. I live in a state where it's legal, so I'd had an edible that night. And I'm like, I would just scroll through TikTok or Instagram, and I came across this video, and I'm like, I need to book a call with her. And I booked it. And because I'd had this edible, I actually completely forgot after I booked it. And I showed that first call. Yep. And you messaged me and you're like, hey, just for, market research purposes, what made you book the call? And I'm like, oh my God, I completely forgot about this. But yes, I want to talk to you.
Yep. And another way that, you as, you might not ask that question or book a call with someone again after they no-show.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
But sometimes you have a feeling that it's a person that you should be talking to.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And you have to totally just be like, well, I'm reaching out to them and see.
Yeah. And I'm so glad you did, because honestly, if you hadn't, and I had at some point remembered that I booked a call and no showed, I would have felt like such a jerk. And I would be like, I can't waste her time and, bug her again after I did this thing. I'm such an asshole for doing that.
Oh, well,
So
it happens. It happens.
I know it happens to the best of us, but it's just so funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, so okay, so that's one thing. What was another thing that like you used your intuition for, or you ignored your intuition on?
Gosh, I don't even know where to pinpoint the times I've ignored my intuition. I can't even
Right.
point just one time.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, I mean, I think I ignored it for so long because I didn't really dive into this until I was in my 40s to
Yeah.
figure it out.
Yeah.
I'd been having, dreams and all kinds of things before then. I mean, just like you said, like I just knew things that I shouldn't have known,
Mm-hmm.
but just ignored it for so many years because I didn't realize like what it was, even though I was secretly like reading all the books I could read and, doing numerology. It just didn't ever really hit me that I had that ability. It's just not something that we have heard a lot about, growing in our upbringing. I think
Mm-hmm.
a lot of us that we have this innate ability.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because I go back to my childhood, and I like whenever a family member died, like I'd wake up knowing. I would have had a dream where they literally said goodbye to me. Or like there was just like I just knew. There was one point where my mom turned to me, and our neighbors from California were getting a divorce. And I didn't even like consciously think through saying this. I said, "Oh, which one cheated?" And she was like, and I was like 12. Like that shouldn't have been a thought that I had, but like which one cheated? It was the husband. The husband cheated on the wife. And it's just like
right. That would have been a shock. I mean, as your mom, be like, where does that come
I know. My 12-year-old's concerned about the sex life of strangers. Awesome. Yeah, no, it's but it's so funny. Like I think also as women, I think often our intuition is tied very much to our emotions, and we're told so often throughout our lives, like stop being so emotional.
Yes.
Stop being so emotional. Like be more logical, like don't be so emotional in meetings, don't do this. And it's like actually like the intuition lives in the emotion.
Yes.
Right. The reaction that we're having to the world around us, be it good, bad, or whatever, is our intuition kind of going, hey, something to pay attention to here.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And yet, like we're told, like mute that, be more masculine, be more, logical, be more assertive in these ways, shove that to the side. And it's like our intuition goes with it. And it's heartbreaking.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And, being like really empathic and sometimes with emotion, I think this just brings up something else is that we can feel what other people are feeling.
Mhm.
And then having the knowledge that and the confidence in, like you were just saying, but then also realizing that sometimes we're picking up on other people, other energy in the room, things like that, and how to discern what's ours and what's not.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because that makes us feel unstable if we don't know where it's coming from.
100%. And I think that's one of the reasons why so many people have struggled through the last 3 years. Because like we were all shut into our houses, and then like we had nonstop just updates of like everyone struggling, all the bad things constantly. And it's like you don't even necessarily have to be around other people physically to be able to pick up on like what the universal feelings are.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I know I really struggled with, I don't know if this anxiety is mine or if it's someone else's, or if it's just the collective.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that that is helpful to be able to sit with someone else who can help look at that
Hmm.
with you. You know, it's never just the other person being able to see everything for you or anything like that. It's a coming together of that and taking a look at it and seeing what's happening
Yeah.
together. I think that is so important, and what I love so much about working with you, because you're a coach that does that for
Right.
your clients as well. And then knowing that, you know, it's not anyone who's superior. I'm not superior as a psychic medium or alignment or an intuitive strategist or whatever, because it's about the other person as well,
Right.
bringing in and learning about their own.
Hmm.
I just think that, and I do, well, okay, I'm not going to say that. I think that it is more powerful when we're able to come together with other people
Yeah.
and look at our energy
Yeah.
and bring our energy together. It's
Mhm.
just more powerful, and
Yeah.
the intuition is more powerful.
Right. Yeah. Well,
Have you found that?
no, 100%. You know, my new thing is like I say, oh, I read an article about this, but it's really I watched a TikTok. No, but someone made a very good point that, you know, space, like, I don't know, like space and places, they hold energy and they have memory, right? So like there's a
Mhm.
difference between like doing a meditation practice while you're on the train commuting to work versus going to a legit like thousands-year-old temple where people have been meditating forever
Mhm.
since that place was built thousands of years ago and meditating there.
Yeah.
Like there's just like this depth. And then of course going there and meditating with other people is a whole different experience. I think this is also why a lot of people, you know, don't like doing yoga on their own. And
Mhm.
literally yoga is the easiest thing to do at home. And yet practically no one will actually do it at home. They want to go to a class and do it with other people.
Yeah.
Right. The practice is that much more powerful.
Mhm.
And there really is like this sense of like deepening trust in what you're actually getting like a download from, either from the universe or internally, of wow, like this is actually truth. This is what I need to be doing in my business. This is what I need to be doing in my life.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. It's also so wild when I'm in a conversation with you and you're like, whoa, like this sounds weird. And this is like, I have no idea what this has to do with. And then you ramble off something that is completely not something that you would normally say. And you're like, you have no idea what it means. And like, it's exactly about a situation that I haven't even brought up to you yet.
Mhm.
It's like, holy shit, what are you talking about, Kristina? How'd you know?
Yeah, it's so weird for me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that it works out for you. It's so weird for me.
Well, it's funny because, like, you know, as I've started doing this work for myself, like, I am noticing that kind of comes up for me with my clients as well.
Yeah.
You know, and I'll just offer, I'll be like, I don't know why, but I'm getting this urge to tell you this thing right now.
Mhm.
And they're usually like, whew, like, I needed to hear that. It's just the right thing in the right moment.
Yeah. 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 And that just takes a lot of trust in yourself
Mm-hmm.
and in the process,
Yeah.
really, to just say it.
Yeah.
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 And I think that's really what it boils down to when someone wants to develop, you know, and really practice their intuition more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just gotta lean into it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I unfortunately, what I see and what I've experienced is you really have to go through ignoring your intuition in ways that like puts you in almost unsafe situations,
Mm,
right? Like toxic work environments, abuse, like, you know, different levels of abusive relationships.
yeah.
Because your intuition is screaming the whole time, get out, leave, walk out the door. This is not the place for you. And yet, because you've been ignoring your intuition for so long at that point, it's so easy to ignore it in those moments.
Yep.
Right. And that's usually the wake up call that, wow, I've been completely ignoring all the red flags, all the like spidey senses in the back of the neck. I
Mhm.
need to start doing that, or this is going to be my life,
Right.
which
Yeah.
is terrifying.
Right. Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
And luckily, we started listening,
Yeah.
you know, because unfortunately you see what happens when you don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like you said, like, I don't want to be there. That's not
Yeah.
where I want to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's funny. Like, I know when I was leaving like a toxic work environment and had just gotten out of an abusive relationship, um, I was going to my therapist and I'm like, I just want a checklist. Can you give me a checklist of like all the things that I need to like be able to check against to make sure someone is like actually what they say they are and is actually good for me and like isn't toxic in some way? And she's like, there's no checklist. Like you can have a checklist in you, but like there's nothing that exists out there in the world because it's going to be different for every situation.
Yeah.
And that's really what cued me into like, I need to start working on trusting my intuition better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I know there have been a couple times in my business that I've had like this voice in my head, like, don't take this client.
Mm.
Do not take this client. Like and not even that they said something wrong. There was nothing that they said that was wrong in the sales call, but there was just like this bubbly feeling of like I could see where it was going to go.
Mm-hmm.
And the one time I ignored it, it went exactly there. And it was just it was just such a great lesson for me to just listen to that voice. Cause I mean, it's just not worth the heartache.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And kind of jumping onto that a little bit, I can see where that same thing has happened to me, but it didn't happen with a voice. It happened in other ways that I knew were kind of like other signs that it wasn't like, this is a client that's not aligned.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I just went ahead,
Yeah.
and then I knew once I was in it,
Yeah.
like, oh no.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh no.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's a great point. I think like some people are really skeptical of this conversation of, spirit guides and intuition and, taking guidance from the universe because they're like, well, they don't believe in some of the things being real. And that's okay. But like one of the things about trusting your intuition, because I mean, you can make anything in the world be a sign for anything.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
But like you noticing something and assigning meaning to it in the world, that's your intuition trying to tell you something.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you believe that like there's a universal power that's like planting this thing in your awareness, or if it's just coming from you.
Yeah.
Like you can look at like a broken vase and think a gazillion different things. The fact that your brain is already assigning meaning that like, oh my God, this means this about that,
Yeah.
something to pay attention to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do think we create, so if we're assigning that to it, we're creating that in our life.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And I think that is what, before I really dove into my intuition, I think that I got in a place in my life where I just didn't feel creative anymore.
Right. Yeah.
And when I dove into really getting into my intuition and I started seeing things in my mind, like, I'll see a video for you to make or whatever it is. I'll see all kinds of things. And I'm like, that's not normally what I was doing or how I was creative or whatever. But it is that we are creative beings and, our innermost being is creative and creating the life that we want because we get to choose when we did things wrong or we didn't follow our intuition and we got in bad relationships or whatever it was. We were the ones that created the change for that.
Yes. No, 100%. It's, you're describing that. I'm thinking of like the times where like a post has hit me, especially for LinkedIn. Like it's usually like when I'm like brushing my teeth or doing my hair or in the shower or whatever. And I just like, I cackle because like, I'm like, I get giddy at the idea of what I'm going to post. And it's usually because it's funny or something, but I have so much fun crafting it in my mind and then putting it out there. And it usually like, those are the ones that either go a little viral or like draw people closer to me. You know, it like I may get clients out of it, or I may just get people who are like, oh my God, like I want to start thinking about working with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 I think it's kind of like twofold. It's that, that creativity part of it, like where it came from.
Mhm.
And then it's also that energy that you have, that how you're putting it out because you're so excited about it.
Yeah.
And that, because everything has energy, people feel that whenever they watch it, whenever they see it.
Yeah. Yeah. And David, actually, he's the king of like the intuitive posts, whether he accredits it to intuition or not. He's great at this. So how, I know I have a couple practices that I have my clients do to get more in touch with their intuition, but I'm curious, like, what's a simple thing that someone could do in your book to start paying attention to their intuition more?
Yeah. So one of the things you brought up, that a lot of times you have your intuition, like you have intuitive hits when you're doing something like brushing your teeth or doing something like that. It happens a lot during those mundane times when you're doing something that you're not thinking about.
Right.
And intuition pops like popcorn.
Mm-hmm.
It's fast. It comes on bam like that. So really, I think that it's a matter of just paying attention to it and jotting it down or doing something. There's been so many times where I will safely pull my car off the side of the road and do a voice memo in my phone.
I like how you very specifically are like, I safely do this. I'm not on my phone while I'm driving. No one call the police in Indiana for me. I'm fine. It's okay. Like, I'm not running over school children so that I can look at my phone.
But it happens a lot for me when I'm in my car. I'm driving.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's the best, really, because just the other day I was like, gosh, I just need to like get out of my house more, out of my office, and go drive my car.
Yeah.
Because the best things come.
Yeah.
And the other thing is spending some time, like quiet time, like, just like letting yourself relax a little bit, whether that's, I don't like to tell people to meditate because that's a whole thing, like trying to figure out how to meditate.
Right.
But, doing things that will quiet down your mind, whatever that is that works for you. And so that you have space, like you got to give yourself some space.
Right.
And going out and walking in nature or things like that, just giving yourself space for those things to come through is a huge thing. And then noting it, because if we don't write it down or don't make a memo of some sort or something, we blow it off and we forget about it.
Yeah. Yep.
And then you have to take action on it. Take an action, even if it's a small thing, just take some kind of action on it so that you get a confirmation of some sort.
Yeah, totally.
For it to grow. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love that. It's, I mean, it really is like a mindfulness practice, essentially.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. My newest favorite tool, to like, work on my manifesting and like what I'm calling in is really the voice memos. Right. Because like it's hard to remember to like go through the list of all the things that you're drawing to you and the things you're creating in your life and to like have the mental checklist without having like a format out there that like you would just kind of play every day. So I'll actually like every couple of weeks, I'll come up with a new voice memo. And it's almost like a guided meditation for myself where I'm just saying the things that I'm paying attention for, the things that I'm looking for in the world.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, I think especially, I'm going to bring in our ADHD. That is so important for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because if I don't have it in front of my face or like saying it all the time, I don't know where it is or what I'm doing.
Yeah. I mean, here, like this is my launch plan for the next like 2 years.
Yeah.
I need a visual representation right in front of me every single day to remind me to stay on task.
Yes.
That shiny object syndrome is so powerful. It can take you all the different ways. And especially for those who are like getting in touch with their intuition and who have ADHD, shiny object syndrome can sometimes trick you into thinking it's an intuition, right? When really it's just like, you know, the Pokemon Go of your brain. It's like, got to get them all, you know?
Yes, I think that's why it's important to practice with someone or do like an intentional practice of your intuition so that you can start to understand like what that feels like for you in your body. So you know the difference.
Yeah.
That pendulum like practice within your body. I think that is a really, really good one to do for intuition. Like being able to determine if it's a yes or a no within your body is one of the first things that I usually do with clients.
No. There's a practice that I love giving my clients, and I do it for myself, probably not as often as I should, but it's like we spend so much time thinking in our heads, you know, and something that's come out in research over the last decade or so is that we actually have neurons throughout our heart tissue and throughout our digestive tract.
Yeah.
Right. So like when you have heartbreak, when you've lost someone, like your memory is not as good. You go into shock. Like you literally don't have access to like a space where you store a lot of memories. And the same when you're sick, like you're a little forgetful. And so I always tell my clients, you know, if you want to like do a visualization where you have like this ball of light floating in your head and you draw it down into your heart and then draw it into your gut and just ask like, what do you know for me here? Or do like 5 minutes of stream of conscious writing from your head, and then 5 minutes of stream of consciousness from your heart, and then 5 minutes of stream of conscious writing from your gut. It's so funny because the voices that you write in or the tone or the types of words that you use are so different. For each one. Like your handwriting can change, like because your heart and your gut don't have a language center.
Yeah.
Right. It could be pictures. It could be like you're like kind of drawing a smell. You know, it's so weird.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love those. I love those.
Yeah.
That is something that made me think of it. When you are, you know, when you're intentionally trying to get intuition to come through, that is one of the things that really works well is that if you're feeling like you're not getting it, consciously dropping into the gut area.
Yeah.
And it'll change it. Yeah.
Because your gut always knows. You know, poor George W. Bush. You know, he used to say this all the time. Like, I have this gut feeling, like I know it in my gut, and everyone would make fun of him for it. It's like, no, George, you're supposed to know it in your brain. Right. But it's like, no, like, I mean, if we all could trust our guts a little bit more, I think we'd be better off.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
It's the first time George W. Bush has come up in any of my lives. I don't know why I brought him up. Anyway,
we'll talk about that later.
Yeah. Cheers. Cheers to the good old days, you know? Anyway, yeah, that's a topic for another time. So we're coming up on time. What is like a piece of wisdom that you want to leave with our audience today?
Oh gosh, Katie.
I know. I didn't tell you to ask this.
A piece of wisdom. A piece of wisdom is, I think it's part of the way that we kind of started the conversation too, is really, I just want to say, like, believing in yourself, like having that belief that you really can create something that you really want. And I believe that you can make money from it. If nothing else, just going for it because it's going to make you happier. Yeah. And making you happier, you know, making yourself happier means that things are going to get better. Yeah. In business and life. Yeah. So I think that is the one big thing. Yeah.
I love that. Thank you. Definitely something that I've been doing more of since working with you.
Thank you.
Thank you. For anyone who is curious about, you know, talking to you, working with you, how can they get in touch with you?
Oh, probably the best way is just go to Instagram and DM me there.
Okay. Awesome. So I'll go in and post your, I'll change the description so it has your Instagram name in there.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, I mean, LinkedIn as well. You can send me a message on. So
yeah. And if anyone wants to get in touch with Kristina and they can't figure it out, you can always DM me and I'll get you in touch. Anyway, thank you so much for doing this with me.
Thank you. Thank you. It's so fun.
And I want to give a shout out to our audience, to Anjan Banerjee. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. To Javi, hello. And to David, thank you guys so much for joining. And anyone else who joined us and just didn't put anything in the comments. Thank you for being part of our audience today. I hope you found this super useful. I'm Katie McManus, business strategist and money mindset coach. And this is Kristina Deckard, intuitive and alignment business strategist. Thank you so much for joining, and we will see you soon. Bye.